Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are, as Frank is in the UK right now. We are here with another one of our GTS Publisher to Retailer webinars. My name is Scott Morris. I'm the Director of Business Development for Gaming for GTS. Joining me today is Frank West. Frank is the owner and the designer and the one-man band, if you can describe that, behind the City of Games. And you may be familiar with City of Games as last year we brought them over from the UK with a game called the City of Kings and another game called Vodoran Gardens, which we'll talk a little bit about today. The main focus of today is to talk about the new release that is coming up on March 19th, just after Gamma, which, and I have a box right here to show everybody, is the Isle of Cats. And this has been one of the most anticipated games on the market right now. There's a major amount of buzz about this game happening on social media. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is going to be one of the 10 most popular games of the year. I think there is such good gameplay in this game and such good artwork in this game and such good planning from Frank's perspective as a business. And he'll talk a little bit about that, I'm sure. He kind of operates a little differently than most publishers do, and differently in a good way. But I think it's going to be a really good discussion. We're going to talk about the base game of Isle of Cats. We're going to talk about the expansion, the late arrivals. Got some notes to fill you in and some information to fill you in on that as well. But by all means, as I always say, all the questions are on the table. You're welcome to ask anything you'd like. If this is your first time joining us on Zoom, there is a chat window. You can hover over your main video. There'll be a little chat bubble at the bottom. You can then send a message to either all panelists, which are myself and Frank, or you can send a message to all panelists and attendees, which all the retailers will be able to see. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you like. If it's something easy, we'll cover it in the chat window. And if it's not, we'll get Frank involved in the discussion and we'll get some more questions answered for y'all. So with that, though, thank you all very much for joining. Appreciate the time. Frank, I'm going to let my face that was made for radio shut up, and I'm going to let you take over and talk about all the awesome things you got, okay?
Cool, thank you very much, Scott. And hello, everyone. I'm Frank from the City of Games, and it is fantastic to be here. And thank you all for spending the time just being here and listening to what I've got to say. Now, I'm going to put a presentation up very soon for you, but I thought I'd give you a few minutes just to see my face, because I'm sure many of you have never heard of me or seen me before. And I am going to be at Gamma in a couple of weeks, so if you're going to look out for me, this is what I look like. But just like Scott, I appreciate that no one really wants to see my face, so I'm going to quickly move on. And we're just going to get started. So the City of Games, this, we've rebranded recently. So many of you may have seen our old logo, but this is kind of where we're going to be moving forwards. And what we've kind of done is we started 3 years ago. And as Scott said, we're based in the UK, in the south of England, and we released our first game, which was the City of Kings. Now, the City of Kings was a big box game. This was kind of the big black box with the sword that many of you may have seen. And then this came out in 2017 on Kickstarter. It released in 2018 and then came to the US in 2019. So it took quite a while to kind of get going and kind of get the name behind the game. But since then, we've released expansions and kind of started growing the game. So the City of Kings is a big cooperative kind of puzzle adventure game. Now, you may be kind of thinking, is this a dungeon crawl? Is this similar to things like Gloomhaven? And really the answer is no. It is a fantasy adventure game and it is cooperative, but this is a much more based around kind of the puzzly kind of side of things. It's a very kind of complex thinky game. There's a bit more mass in it, but this is really more about the logic, the deterministicness of how you calculate things and work things out whilst playing through a story. So the City of Kings came out and it was this kind of big game that did really well for us. It obviously put us on the map. It got the attention of people like GTS and other distributors, and it's been very successful for us. And one thing I really believe in is just making sure that when our games come out, that we continue to support them. So having seen the original success, we then started doing things like releasing miniatures for the game and other expansions so we can continue keeping the game fresh. Now, obviously in America, all of this came out in 2019, so you kind of saw it in a single kind of one release. But it's really important because as we move into our future games, I want you to kind of be aware that we're not a company where we just release a game and kind of leave it out to kind of go. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we move on. After the City of Kings, we moved to the opposite side of the world, I guess, where we went to Vidorian Gardens. And Vidorian Gardens was a very small box. You can see here it's kind of a 30-minute game for 2 to 4 players. And this is kind of, it's a really small little box that you can just get out and play wherever you want. We kind of push this on the sense of it's like King Domino plus plus. So if you're familiar with kind of the King Domino game and how you kind of place tiles together to kind of form your kind of grid, Vidorian Gardens is about building a pathway. So you're selecting cards in a similar fashion, but moving left to right, trying to connect up similar territories whilst completing objectives and meeting certain requirements. So it's a lot more thinky, it's a little bit more puzzly, but it's that same kind of audience. So we targeted this as people who they like King Domino, but they really wanted to be in that kind of heavy gamer kind of market. But this kind of brings us to where we are now, because after releasing these 2 games, I felt like I'd really learned what game design was, what publishing was, what marketing and sales was, and I really wanted to focus on how can we create something that will do well in retail? How can we really push a game that hits the retail market? And this is where the Isle of Cats came along. The Isle of Cats was based on 2 separate different principles kind of coming together. One of those was polyomino games. So if you're familiar with those kind of Tetris-like games like Patchwork or Barren Park or Cottage Garden, where you're putting pieces together, polyominoes were one of the inspirations for this game. But in my eyes, when I saw polyomino games, they were all smaller games. They were all lighter games. They were kind of, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, fairly simple, fairly family friendly. And I thought to myself, where's that 60 to 90-minute game? Where's that wingspan level kind of complexity that hits a kind of a big mass market, but is a little bit more? And you may be thinking to yourself, well, there's games like Feast for Odin, which are obviously much heavier polyomino games. But where the key differences are is something like Feast for Odin is a worker placement game that has a polyomino kind of section within it. Whilst with the Isle of Cats, what we've done is we've really expanded upon the polyomino system, and it's still the heart of the game. And we'll kind of talk through that a little bit more. But the other side of this I want to talk about is the theming, which is cats. And many of you, I'm sure basically everyone here is probably familiar with Exploding Kittens or these other kind of big party games that sell hundreds and thousands of copies all the time. But it's kind of given cats this concept of being smaller themed games, party games, kind of fun games that you get out and play quickly. And I love cats. Turns out a lot of people love cats, and I wanted that gamer's game. I wanted that game that I could go to my game night and just be proud of this game that I'm playing and not kind of ashamed of the fact that it's kind of some silly party game. So the Isle of Cats was this take on how do we create a medium weight polyomino game? How do we take that cat theme and how do we create something that everyone's gonna love? So you can see here, and these are all kind of photos of the final product of the game. At its heart, it is a polyomino game. There's a lot of different cats of different colors that are bent around these shapes, taking advantage of the fact that cats like to stretch, and you're gonna be playing this game over 5 rounds. But what's important is it's much more than that. You'll see here that there are a number of cards on the screen because this game is also about card drafting. So if you're familiar with games like Terraforming Mars, this game has a similar kind of card system where you're going to be selecting cards, passing them around. You're then going to be using resources to pay for those cards that you want to keep. So you'll see there's some fish tokens on the board as well. And you're going to have this slightly more complex system where it's not just about how do you take a piece and put it into this rectangular shape. It's about how do you get cards, how do you manage resources to get the cards you need, to get the tiles you need to complete specific objectives. Each player will have different objectives that will score them points, which will also be getting through cards. So this game just takes it up to that next level a little bit more. So as you play through this, you're going to find that, as I say, it's 60, 90 minutes, and it's got this big kind of medium weight game that's still easy to learn, but equally, it's also kind of got the cats at the heart of it. So all of the games come with a whole bunch of these cat meeples, and it's a really nice visual experience. And it means that people, as they're walking by who like cats, just naturally get drawn to it. And the gamers who are a bit more experienced, they might be a little bit kind of, I'm done with polyomino games, or they're too simple, or I'm done with cat games. This kind of allows them to kind of come back and realize that there's something just a little bit bigger kind of going on in there. So that kind of gives you a bit of an overview of the game. And what I want to do is just go through two different sides of this. So one of them is I want to go through the marketing of the game, some of the things we're doing to help you sell the game. And the other thing I want to do is talk through some of the key selling points of the game. Just before I do that, Scott, have any questions come in at all yet, or are we good so far?
Nothing's come in through chat yet. I did, just so everyone knows, I put a link in chat. I put the SKU numbers for both the Isle of Cats base game and the Late Arrivals expansion. I also put a link in that will take you directly to the GTS distribution page that will show you all of Frank's games. So it'll show you the City of Kings, the expansions, Fedora Gardens, and things like that as well. So you're welcome to click on that and check things out. But like we said, any kind of questions, let me know. Me personally, I just want to interject here. The photos that you have done for this game to promote it online are some of the best photos we've seen in an extremely long time. It's very clear, obviously, you hired a professional photographer, you put some thought and some process into it. And, you know, your comment about, you know, exploding kittens and party games and things like that versus a fun, serious game here that is for gamers hits the nail on the head, because this is a game that some people may look at and think, well, is that like a cat lady thing? And then they realize, no, this is way more. And there's so much more into it in the gameplay side. So it's really cool. Jasper did get a couple of questions, actually. Jasper said, is there a way to get pictures/art of the game to use on our social media website to promote the game? That's a good question.
There completely is. And I've got a section that I'm going to come to in a minute. So if you don't mind, I'll just push that back and I will cover it for you very soon.
Nice. Alex says, I already have some Isle of Cats on order and I plan on making a herd of cats display. That sounds amazing already. If you do that, Jasper, make sure to send me pictures of that and we'll put that on the GTS webpage. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's amazing. So I appreciate that. Obviously, anyone who's picking up the game and supporting, I always appreciate. And we love to see photos and kind of sharing them around. So what I'm going to do is just move on to the next steps. So by default, the Isle of Cats is a 1 to 4 player game. And this just quickly means I want to bring you onto the Late Arrivals expansion. So Late Arrival expansion is obviously a separate box that is available through GTS. And this does two things. This first adds the ability for 5 and 6 players to join in and play the game. So this brings it up to a 6-player game. But on top of that, it also works as just an expansion for the base game. This comes through in a few different forms. Firstly, you'll see there are a number of different kind of cat tiles. These are all unique for the expansion. So these will add new options and new decisions into the game. You will see there are 2 kind of folded boat boards at the back, and both of those have, again, slightly different arrangements to the 4 that are in the base game, meaning that they're going to add some new options to players. And finally, you'll see the cards on the screen. So you'll see that the cards there's brown, green, purple, yellow, and blue. The blue cards are the important ones for this because the blue cards have the lessons, and these are how people score points. So these give you your objectives, such as, you know, fill the outside of your boat, or get your cats in this particular pattern, or get your cats next to this particular place. And these are the things that are going to make you feel like you're doing different things. Now, what we've done is in the base game, there are 3 sets of lesson modules. So within the deck of cards, they're split. The lesson modules are split into sets of 8, and these can be interchanged. So in the base game, you're going to have lesson modules A, B, and C, and the Late Arrivals adds 3 more lesson modules, which means that anyone who has the base game can swap the lesson modules from this expansion into the base game to completely change all of the objectives and everything they have to do. So not only does it add more support for more players, but it also allows the 1 to 4 player market to completely change the game around as well. So one of the things which, as I mentioned earlier, is really important to me is being able to spread the word and to work with you guys to get this game kind of out there. I'm not interested in just releasing a game and then going straight to my next game. As an individual, I work on one game every kind of 12 to 18 months, and then the focus is on that. So between now and past Gen Con, the only thing I'm going to be doing online is talking about the Isle of Cats and working on helping people find this game and discover it. So you will see that we've started to have a few kind of reviews. So Tom from the Dice Tower has said that this is going to be one of the hottest games of this year. There's a lot of people who really believe that this could be the wingspan of 2020 because it ticks so many boxes and the initial response to it has been fantastic. The game came out kind of just at the end of 2019 in Asia. So some people have kind of included it in their 2019 kind of reports. So Rado, for example, included this in his top 10 games of 2019. And Adam Smith from Rolling Solo has said that this is the best solo puzzle game of 2019. And something, the solo I want to talk about a little bit, but for me, the solo mode of this game is one of the really standout features. And not only is the game really working well for groups, but solo players are really enjoying it as well. So moving on from kind of what reviewers and other people out there are saying, I want to show you our retailer resources page. So hopefully Scott will be able to share a link to this in the chat for you. So something that I've done is I've put together a page on our website that has absolutely everything I believe you guys are going to need to have. So hopefully you'll now be able to see that I've jumped over to our website and this will kind of scroll through the page. So at the top of this, you're just going to see some basic information. It's just going to tell you how many players it is, the length of play, and you're also then just going to get a game overview. The game overview here is more aimed at you guys, the retailers. So it's going to be talking about the key mechanics. So it talks about card drafting, it talks about managing resources. This isn't aimed at kind of the end person. It's more giving you the information you need to be able to talk about the game. Underneath this, you're going to find the specifications, which are going to talk about box sizes, and then you'll see an update section. So on here that I have a newsletter that's aimed at retailers and distributors. So if you just want to have updates about when things are happening, feel free to sign up. And then underneath that, you'll see downloads and resources. So this comes to what I think Jasper was asking for earlier. And there's 3 different sections to this. The first one is something which very few of you, I'm sure, are going to use, but it's something that I'm really happy to be able to offer. And this is a video. So as it says here, if you have an in-store display, you can download this video from our website, and it gives you a 1-minute, 41-second kind of overview of the game. So what we've done is we've taken the video we used for our Kickstarter and we've re-imaged it to allow you guys to be able to use it in store. So one of the key parts about that is you'll see here that the video is teaching you how the game plays, but we've also added subtitles. So as you kind of go through the video, anyone who doesn't have audio playing or music, you're still going to be able to see how the video works, and people in 90 seconds are going to be able to watch this video, read the text, understand what the game is about, and get a good feel for it. So you can come to our website and you can download that. You'll also see that we've created a section of social images, which you can download here. So this is a whole bunch of pre-made images that are auto sizes for Twitter, for Facebook, for Instagram, that have various forms of artwork on them. You'll see some of them already have text, such as now in store, kind of in stock and stuff like that. Some of them are plain for you to add your own stuff to them. But these are all available and they're completely downloadable. And then below that, we just have some generic images that kind of give you the boxes, they give you our logos, and they give you all of those photos that you saw earlier. So that gives you a whole feast of things that you can download and kind of go for your heart's content. And below that, finally, you'll see there's some third-party videos linked. So Rodney Smith from Watch It Played is going to be releasing his how to play video tomorrow for us. And then obviously you've got some of the key reviews that have been released so far. So if there's other things that you guys need, let us know, and I'm continuing to update this page, but this is here for you to give you absolutely all the information and stuff that you're going to need to be able to actually kind of go out and promote the game. So yeah.
I was going to say, I did put the link into the retailer's resource page. I'll make sure to, when we upload this to YouTube, that the link is in the video description as well, so that people can get that. This is inarguably, in my opinion, one of the best retailer resource pages. Frank really did a great job listening to both us as a distributor, kind of being a voice for retailers, saying this is what we believe they want, and listening to retailer feedback to create this. But most retailer resource pages are usually pretty basic and pretty standard. They don't have a lot of the options and a lot of the things that are available for you on this. They're really more kind of consumer focused than retailer focused. And I think Frank did a really, really good job with this. The video is great. We've had a lot of retailers tell us that they've been adding more and more, just simple TVs with an iPad or a simple TV with a laptop hooked up to it to run YouTube videos. having something like this in your store for 90 seconds that kind of does the job for you and does the selling for you is really awesome. So highly recommend people to check that out. Carrie did mention, she said, we have some customers that back the Kickstarter game, but are eager to get the Late Arrivals expansion. So when it hits retail, so they're looking for that. So they said, thank you very much for having digital resources for it. And Derek Furman says also, again, awesome. Thank you very much for providing digital assets, especially the logos. That's a good point. That's a great idea.
No, I mean, that's absolutely my pleasure. And as I say, for me, this is all about how we can work together. I'm not a big publisher that you guys have been buying hundreds of games from for years. I'm very new at this, but I want to be doing it right. I want to work with you guys. And actually, as a small plug for anyone who is going to Gamma, I'm going to be doing a session on the Monday at 4 p.m., which is about how retailers and small publishers can work together. So please do come along. But you're going to see a lot of what I'm talking about here, I'm sure, in its own form. So one thing I'm aware of with this game is, okay, so the Isle of Cats is this great sellable game. Okay, I'm providing you guys with materials so you can market the game and sell the game. But the final part of that is, what am I doing? What am I going to do to kind of help push that? So one of the things that you may have seen recently on the internet is this thing that we did inside the box of the game. And inside the lid, we put this target, which we called Cat Setup. And we said, if you have a pet cat, you should place it here while playing the Isle of Cats. And for anyone who doesn't know, cats love to go in boxes. And what this has done is it's been fantastic, because as our Kickstarter backers have started receiving the game, they've started spreading the word. And we have seen hundreds and hundreds of photos. Now, some of them are like the most fantastic photos you've ever seen. Some of them are just the most awful photos you've ever seen. But the important part is, all of these people are spreading these things across Twitter, Board Game Geek, Facebook, and we've seen some of these go viral with thousands of likes, which, within our industry is a really high amount of people to be sharing something. And I think one of the critical things to remember here is, yes, people who have got their cats are sharing it, but this also brings out the other people, the people who don't have cats, but they want to be involved, because there's nothing people love more than sharing photos of their loved ones. So we've got birds, we've got dogs, we've had 12 different types of animals now, from snakes and toads, and all of these things which are just being shared all over the internet. And people without animals are starting to be creative as well, and they're sharing pictures of teddies and toys and things they've made. So it's really encouraging everyone to come together. I mean, this photo here is one of the most amazing photos I've seen, and I hate to think how long it took them to put this together, but people are putting this in and they're sharing them, and each one of these photos has the name of the game, and it's getting people asking about it. So this is something that we did to really try and help to kind of spread the word, and to obviously make the game that little bit more fun as well. On top of that, some of the other things which are key to know is that we have the retail release, which is the week after Gamma, so the week starting 16th of March, I believe. Yeah. And then we've also got a whole bunch of translation releases that are going to be happening around June. So what this means is, when we kind of get to June, there'll be another 15,000 games in French and Spanish and Russian, all over the internet, with more people kind of starting to share and jump on the buzz as well. So not only have we got this release, but we've got that release in a few months that will kind of push stuff. And then we've got another release that's going to be in 7 or 8 months' time for another 5 languages as well, which will hopefully give it another push. So throughout the year, we're going to continue targeting these lumped up kind of releases. So that's some of the marketing. We've talked about the game. So let's just finally talk about the 4 kind of absolute key selling points of the game. And then I'm going to kind of go on to questions and we'll be done. So the first one, as I say, is this really is a medium weight polyomino game. So it's that 60 to 90 minute game. It's focused on the polyomino. So it's really heavily focused on how you put these tiles onto your board. But there are some other things which are really, really important in this game too. Firstly, the family mode. Now, this is one of those things which is going to be so critical to so many of you. And I remember talking to a retailer last year about this game and saying to them, I'm doing this game. And they said to me, what happens when people come into our store and they're coming in with little kids? What happens if you get the people who have seen Exploding Kittens and they just want that cat game? Just because you're aiming at the medium weight kind of experienced gamer market doesn't mean that everyone's going to be that audience. So what we did is we sat down and I custom designed a family mode for the game. Now, this isn't just kind of a little tweak. This is basically a completely separate game. So the normal game, and I'm going to show you, but I know it's small on kind of the camera, is just the normal rulebook. You know, this is a 24-page rulebook that has the solo mode, all of the standard game, and everything in it. Now, the important thing is the family mode is just a single sheet of paper. So this is a double-sided sheet, which you can play the whole game learning from this. So you don't need the rulebook. So anyone who's, no matter their experience level, can pick up this game and play it. And if they get familiar, they can then kind of start moving on to the more complicated game as they wish. This is actually the first board game I've ever been able to play with my mum, which I know as the designer of the game is quite a biased thing to say, but I have hundreds of games I've been trying to play with her for years. And this is the first game where we've sat down and she's actually just been comfortable to play through it. And then she went and played it with her sister. Her sister then bought it. Her sister played it with the other sister. And now everyone in my family owns this game. And it's a little bit strange for me, but the family mode really does allow the kind of the non-gamer audience an approach into this. As I touched on earlier, the solo mode of the game. So the solo mode of this game is very unique and it's very different. A lot of people are familiar with kind of the solo modes and a lot of these other games like the Ultimate Factory and all of these kind of standard ways of doing solo. But in this game, we created something totally different. We introduced this new character called your sister, and she's snuck aboard on your boat and you're competing against her. Now, the way this works for this game is, I'm not going to go into the details, but basically you're all playing off the same board. So there's no complicated management of this AI system. Your sister is playing because the decisions you make score for both you and for her. And solo players are absolutely loving this because it gives them a really puzzly game that's unlike anything that's out there, that has no management and no complexity, and they can just get on and play the game. I've actually seen people on Board Game Geek now who have logged 25 to 30 plays of this game in the last 4 weeks, which is, for me, an incredible amount for when you think it's kind of a 60 to 90 minute game. And of course, finally, the fact that there is the 5 and 6 player expansion means that people playing 1 to 4 player can up the game and have more players playing with them as well. So that's kind of the 4 key points. We've talked through the marketing, we've talked through some of the game. And for me, that's kind of everything I wanted to touch on with this. I don't want to spend 2 hours just talking about one game. I appreciate we're all busy. If anyone's obviously got any questions and stuff, please feel free to ask them. But otherwise, you know, I'm really grateful that you came and gave me this chance to present this to you.
Yeah, I think tremendous stuff all the way around, Frank. Thank you very much. We do have a question. Kylie asked a question about how is supply looking? Are we expecting any allocations? And is there another print coming, et cetera? So I'm more than happy to take that if you want me to. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
Cool. Okay, so in the spirit of transparency with all of our retailers, we did step out pretty heavy on this one. We ordered 5,000 units of the base game coming in. We have about 2,300, 2,400 pre-ordered as of speaking right now, and we still have a month to go before the game is going to be released on March 19th. So between everything that's been happening, like Frank has talked about, from the marketing efforts and from the BGG efforts and from the social media buzz, plus you add in Gamma, plus you add in retailers being able to meet Frank there and be able to see the game and things like that, we're more than likely expecting to be very close to sold out, if not close to sold out by the time that the game releases. We are currently right now in the expansion. We brought in what we consider a normal amount of expansions compared to the base game. If you look at the sales of expansions to a base game, we generally roughly see about maybe 30% of that happening in terms of sales. So for every 1,000 units of a base game you sell, you'll sell about 300 units of an expansion. This one has been way more popular than that was ever planned on or expected for. So unfortunately on the expansion, we are 100% sold right now, but we do have plans with Frank to reprint both the base game and the expansion as soon as possible. There is a small chance, depending on logistics and things, we might be able to get another 500 to 800 expansions in. No guarantees on that yet, though. That's stuff that we're still working through with Frank from a logistics perspective and things that we may or may not be able to have access to. So currently, if you have a pre-order in for the expansion, that is good. You're awesome. Everything is good to go. I believe that is actually, we're at a point where we have like literally 21 or 22 left. So once that number gets hit, then there's going to be a message that goes out to retailers letting you know that we've hit our, kind of cap on that at the current moment. So we're happy to take pre-orders for it, but anything above that, we're going to have to put into the second printing for it. But again, on the base game, we again feel this is going to be something that's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. So we wanted to bring it in both for release, have enough for release, have enough to lead us into the second printing, and then have second printing lead into Christmas and holidays and things like that. And unfortunately, with the way everything is going in China right now with the coronavirus, there's always some concerns about how that's all going to work out for the rest of the year. So, but in general, yes, the answer is definitely there is supply for the base game. There is opportunity to be able to get that as it builds. Just to put this in perspective, and a lot of the retailers will kind of connect with this. We do have a lot of retailers that wait until the last minute to pre-order because most of our games will have a pre-order date. I believe March 9th is the pre-order date for this one, which is about 2 weeks prior to the release. We do already have them in stock in-house, so there's no concerns on delay, no concerns on shipping and delivering and hitting that March 19th date for a street date. But if you wait until March 9th, it may be too late possibly. So I would highly recommend, if you want to order or pre-order more, definitely, do it as soon as possible. Obviously, like we talked about, Gamma's coming up that week of March 9th. I think that's going to be a really, really big week for this, because it's going to be the first time that a lot of retailers get a chance to see the game and touch the game and taste the game, so to speak, metaphorically. And I think that will add to it. So I do have a good feeling that if we are not sold out by the launch, it will be sold out extremely shortly right thereafter. And like I said, we are working with Frank on doing a second printing and both the base game and the expansion as well. So hopefully that answers all your questions, and hopefully you like the transparency. So,
and I think just to kind of jump on that as well, briefly, obviously the game so far has been very popular, as Scott has said. For my transparency's sake, once the second print, which includes the kind of the first set of translations, is done, we would have printed 35,000 games, which will all be ready to kind of either left China or leave China within the next couple of weeks. So obviously we've kind of got a bit of difficulty with predicting the next print run, because when you've got 35,000 games and it's not even released at retail yet, there's kind of a line between how many I can get printed. But of course, as soon as that release comes and we kind of see the kind of demand coming, we're going to be pushing kind of the third and fourth prints through the year as well to kind of try and meet that demand.
Sure. And I can tell you from previous experience working with Frank, like I mentioned earlier, he operates a little differently, as you've already seen in the presentation here, but he also operates very smooth with his manufacturers. The City of Kings, the Dora Gardens, all the expansions, we had zero issues with any of that. And again, with Isle of Cats, that has already landed. It's already in our warehouse, and it's actually already distributed out to other warehouses. So we've done a really, really tremendous amount of work to make sure we're getting that stuff all kind of planned out in the beginning. Manuel has a question, all in capital letters, so I'm not going to shout it, but it's great. He said, I came in a few minutes late, but is there a demo program for Isle of Cats? Which I know we just talked about. So I don't know if you want to bring that up and have any discussion around that at all.
Yeah, so I've been working with GTS to kind of be on the standard kind of GTS demo process, so that you guys be able to get your demo copy through them. Following, I don't know the name of the
there's actually no like official name for it. Yeah, it's just the GTS formal, demo program. But if you're not familiar with it, it's as simple as contacting your sales rep. You can purchase a base game only, no expansions, but you can get a base game, 25% of SRP, one copy per storefront, and it's only for brick and mortar stores. So that way you're able to put it on display. This is a game that really is eye-catching. I mean, you saw some of the photos earlier that Frank showed and put up. It is really, really eye-catching. It's one of those things that when you see it, even if you don't like cats, I had someone the other day, I posted a picture of me playing my copy of it here, and someone posted on my Facebook page and said, I don't even like cats, and I love that game. I was like, it's a game that is very tactile and very, I want to pick it up and I want to play it and learn about it. So it is a good one to have on demo for sure. Awesome. There's no additional questions that have come in. So my question I always like to ask Frank, if retailers want to reach out and get a hold of you directly, obviously there is your main website, but if they wanted to email you directly, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if you do go to the website, which I think Scott linked in earlier, which has the retailer resource page on it, within that there's a support section, and on that you'll see that there is a menu item. I think it's called retailers and distributors or something along those lines. And if you click on it, it will give you contact information to email me directly. As Scott kind of points out earlier, I mean, the City of Games is me. I literally do everything. I have a few people who help me with the odd thing, but if you email, if you Facebook, if you Twitter or Instagram or whatever you do, you will always get through to me, and I will always respond Pretty much on the dot, but you know, I'll say 24 hours just to be safe.
It's pretty amazing. You know, we always joke about two guys in a garage, and that most publishers are two guys in a garage, but usually those two guys will have, you know, an army of other people that they contract with. Frank does so much around his games and does it in such a unique way. It's one of the reasons that we fell in love with him and with the company, is that it's more than just a game. It's truthfully a product. Like City of Kings, it's a game that you can literally lose yourself in and have so many repeat adventures, so much just content in that game. Badoran Gardens is, again, something that's very candy-like. You see it, it's very colorful. It's something that people want to pick up and play with immediately. And, you know, seeing those be successful and now transfer into Isle of Cats and seeing that be successful. I mean, those games were games that were very, you know, City of Kings is a hobbyist game. It's something that you're not going to see on a Target or a Walmart shelf. It's going to be something in a hobby store. But Badoran Gardens is a much more broader reaching game. But then Isle of Cats becomes something that's even bigger. So it's been really exciting to see Frank and his company grow, and also his approach and how he handles retailers and the market grow. So I think that's been great. So hope it's been obviously very good info for you, the retailers. As always, thank you very much. I know it's never a good time. There's always, you know, challenges and schedules and stuff like that. As a reminder, we do record these. We put them on YouTube. So if you didn't get any of the information or you missed anything, or you just want to go back and see anything again, you'll be able to get that, hopefully, depending on the YouTube gods, a little later today, or worst case, tomorrow morning. Sometimes the upload gods and goddesses are not very fun or fair to us, but it's all good. But if anyone does have questions, I did put some links into the page. Derek just asked a question: is Isle of Cats a GTS exclusive? Yes, all of the games that Frank has brought to the US right now are GTS exclusive with us, and that's where you can get them. So we'll be happy to help you out with them. So it's good stuff. Again, Frank, thank you. Can't thank you enough. Really do appreciate your time. I know it's almost time to, you know, punch the clock, so to speak, over in the UK, but really do appreciate you taking the time. And if I know you, you're not anywhere near punching the clock, actually. So.
No worries. Well, you know, thank you for having me on. Thank you guys for kind of tuning in, and for anyone who's watching us later. And as I say, if anyone's coming to Gamma, come and find me. I'm more than happy to chat or get in touch via the website. And I hope you all have a good day.
Yep, and if you do want to see the game, we will have it on display at our booth at Gamma as well, which is booth 114. So you're more than welcome to come by and check it out there. I think Frank may spend some time in our booth from here and there, so you may be able to find him there as well and kill two birds with one stone. So, all right, retailers, thank you so much. Frank, thank you so much. Retailers, have a great week in the store. We'll see you next week.